So I love the healing power of food. And last week I talked about chicken soup and I talked a little bit about making bone broth. And this week I want to talk about fermented foods and the benefits of these very wonderful food. My name is Mary Bourne. I'm a traditional naturopath and I love sharing natural remedies with people. And natural remedies have been around for hundreds, even thousands of years because they work. So I want to thank you for joining me today. I hope that you like this video. Give me a thumbs up and share with others, and subscribe, click on the little bell. You'll get notified each week when I do these videos. I usually do them on Tuesdays. And if you want to see them live, you can email me at drmary@bornforhealth.com and I'll send you the link for the live presentation. So in the month of October, I'm focusing on some delicious and nutritious foods that enhance immune health. And they're going to ramp up our nutrition to get us through the fall and winter months and into spring with good health. So today we're going to discuss the benefits of ferments, and I just want to do a little Hippocrates. Hippocrates is quoted as saying, "Let medicine be your food and food be your medicine." And he may have been talking about ferments because the benefits of these foods are tremendous. Now, I'm not a fan of kimchi or even sauerkraut for that matter, but I've found some wonderful fermented foods. I love yogurt. There's some things that I'm going to go through and talk about. My palate is changing a little bit. I'll take a little taste here and there of sauerkraut. So the first, other than yogurt, first fermented food I made was kombucha. And at first I was turned off by the SCOBY, which stands for Symbiotic Culture of Bacteria in Yeast. It just looked kind of gross to me. Sort of like the mother in vinegar, you know, I kind of ignored it when I was pouring off vinegar. But I've learned how important these yeast and bacteria can be to help our bodies adjust to our environment. Our environment is full of bacteria and yeast and viruses, and these days with this continuous washing and masking and trying to keep you from breathing in the good bacteria and yeast that are around us is totally not healthful. So today we're going to concentrate on some of the foods that you may find you can start in, or maybe you've already exposed yourself to some wonderful ferments and love it and are really into the strong taste of fermented foods, which the taste can go from mild to really, really intense. It's really up to you. I never enjoyed beer. I don't like the smell of vinegar. So it's like, it has to be kind of mild for me to enjoy it. But in kombucha, there's a broad spectrum of yeast, and it's reported, look at all these different things. Now, you may have been maybe turned off by this word here, candida, and especially if you've had a problem with candida, but candida is supposed to reside in our gut. It's only when it goes systemic that it is bad. And there can be good and bad candida. And when it goes beyond the intestinal wall and starts disrupting the balance in the rest of our body, it can cause all kinds of problems, even dandruff and fungal toes and all kinds of things. But the big takeaway on this is most of the studies conclude that kombucha tea could be beneficial against liver diseases, for which oxidative stress is well known as a causative factor. And research on kombucha has demonstrated its antimicrobial efficacy against pathogenic microorganisms of both gram-positive and gram-negative origin. Now, a lot of times, if you are not understanding what that means, is these are often concerns that, like MRSA and SARS, that the hospitals have a difficult time controlling and getting rid of. So it's because they are supposed to reside in our gut, and most people come in and they're very deficient in these microbes, and so they can't fight off infections that they normally would be able to fight off. So one way of doing it is to drink some kombucha. Now you'll see here there's this is the SCOBY, and sometimes it's dark and it has maybe tendrils hanging off of it, and sometimes it's this white rubbery texture. And it's all okay. It's only when it starts to grow mold that you have to be concerned with that. And there's a website that I'm going to put a link to in the description below, marysnest.com. Mary has wonderful, wonderful hints on transiting from a processed kitchen to a traditional kitchen through sourdough and fermented foods, and just healthier eating in general. So I was gifted a starter, a sourdough starter from a friend of mine. I want to say it was like 25 years ago, maybe 30 years ago. And I kept it alive for a while, but then I got disinterested in it and left it in the back of my refrigerator and for months, and it just really went bad. So I'm very disappointed, but the upstart on this is that my daughter-in-law is now interested in creating sourdough because she can't tolerate breads and she loves breads. But sourdough, there's several reasons why making your own bread, especially with sourdough, helps you digest it better. Now, we know that the beneficial bacteria and yeast in the sourdough are helpful for gut, but I also, because you're kneading that dough or working that dough with your bare hands when you're forming the loaf, and that your skin has myriad of microbes on it that are now blending with that bread, and they can help your body identify this bread as something that's healthful. I also feel like the energy that goes into the bread as you make it and enjoy it, and you may be thinking about the love of your family. My mother used to make homemade bread. Of course, hers was white, and she didn't understand too much about the health benefits of it. But I remember she would not cut into a loaf of bread without making the sign of the cross on it. So it was a loaf of love. So the other thing about that I've learned about Alaska, and why I'm kind of sad that I had to discard that, was that the miners, that the gold miners in Alaska used to make their sourdough bread, and they do it, and then they'd leave for a while. What they did was they would seal up the cracks and chinks in the in their log cabins with this discarded starter. So as you're making your starter, sometimes it becomes too much. You don't need that much bread, so you have to discard some as you're feeding it. And so they would take this discarded starter and they would fill it in like you would mortar. And so when they would come back, which maybe 3 months later, they would find that their starter had gone bad. And so what they would do is they would chip off a little bit of this mortar or starter and reconstitute it, and it would be good to go. And so, Alaska is not exactly hot. And the cool weather actually is a friend to the good yeast and bacteria, and the hot weather is not. So I thought that was kind of a funny little story attached to Alaska, the starter that began in Alaska. So you can purchase a kombucha kit if you don't have a SCOBY. Go online and purchase it, and it has instructions on how to get it started. Or if you have a friend, see, that's the beauty of most ferments. It's very social. And so if you have a sourdough starter, you have to feed it, and maybe you have a big jar of it now and you're not ready to make bread, you can share that with a neighbor. It's a community thing, whereas the SCOBY grows more SCOBYs. In fact, there are people that have SCOBY hotels, and all they do is peel off a little bit. They look like pancakes stacked one on top of the other. You just peel off one and put a little bit of the fluid in with it, the liquid, and another person can start doing kombucha. So it's very community oriented, neighborly, and I think it would be a great thing to start a ferment club this spring or this winter and fall, and keep that starter going or the kombucha going, and help each other to be healthy. So we know ferments support better health with the immune system and better gut. In fact, 80% of your immune system is located in the digestive tract. So that makes it a healthy, for a healthy gut, and a major focal point. If you want to achieve optimal health, you should add some wonderful ferments. Years and years ago, my husband and I started making, well, actually I started doing it, and then he later on became involved and helped me with it. But I made sauerkraut in a crock, and it would sit out there. I would start in about mid-August when the cabbage would come in, and I'd shred it and mix it with a little salt, pound it down to get the juices going, and the juice would come to the top, and I put a plate on it. But the thing is that the only thing I knew of how to preserve that was to can it. And when you can fermented food, you lose a lot of the benefit of it. So it's better to keep it in a cool place. If you have like a root cellar, you can keep it going. That's what they used to do with pickles. It would be in a crock. You just take out a few pickles from the crock, and then that would be your side dish. So if you don't have a root cellar, it will last in the refrigerator quite a bit. In fact, in our neighborhood, we are known for pickled green beans. For the last, I want to say 10 years, we've been doing pickled green beans, and I followed the recipe, and the recipe always called for a little red capsicum or red pepper, and I'm not a fan of spicy, and so I could take them or leave them. Well, this year I decided to do my dilly beans according to Mary's recipe, which was using a grape leaf, and that had tannins in it that kept the green beans crisp. Now, my refrigerated green beans, you keep them on the counter until they're bubbly and ready, but then you can refrigerate them. And we use them as a side dish 2-3 times a week, and they're crunchy and delicious, and have a slight hint of garlic and dill. Lovely. So that's another way every day you should have some form of fermented food. It can be a side dish, it can be yogurt, any kind of ferment, sourdough, maybe 2, 3 times a day. But you want to help your gut be healthier because look at it, 80% of your immune system is in your digestive tract. So, we have a saying in natural health that you don't get a cold or catch a cold. You earn that cold. You do it through stress, through lack of sleep, through improper eating, a variety of things. And so ferments are an easy way to support better health. Now, there are 2 doctors, Dr. Daniel Amen, that specifically talk about the second brain, which is your gut, and Dr. Perlmutter. And they have fabulous books on your relationship between your brain and your gut. So if your brain, if you're thinking foggy, if you're not thinking sharply and clearly, it may be that your gut is not giving the correct messages to your brain. So there's 100 trillion microorganisms that live in your intestines, and they communicate. And these aren't just bacteria, these are yeast, bacteria, viruses, all kinds of microbes, even parasites that are symbiotic with our body. In fact, we have 10 times more microbe cells than we do human cells. So that's, you can't walk around like this and be healthy. I can go off on a rage about that. So your gut can affect your mood. It can affect how you perceive the world, basically. So it's really, really, really important. So now there's another thing that without the right probiotics, our body cannot synthesize B vitamins, and these help us deal with stress. So even if you're taking B vitamins and you don't have the right probiotics in your gut, you may not be able to utilize those properly. B vitamins are washed out. We don't manufacture B vitamins. Other animals manufacture B vitamins in their adrenal glands. And so they handle stress quite differently than humans do. So creating fermented foods can be quite economical, and they save us a tremendous amount of money in drinks. Instead of drinking pop or buying carbonated beverages and that, why not do kombucha? It has a wonderful carbonation and it's very tasty. I like to make mine. I do what they call a second ferment. I take it and I put dried blueberries or cranberries in a jar and put some of my kombucha tea in it. And I let that sit on the counter with a cover over it for a couple of days. And oh my goodness, it's just fabulous. So it really doesn't take much time. In general, kombucha can take up to 2 weeks, the first one. And as you use starter and that, I've been able to get it to the taste I like within a week. So you might have some going, or you might have some in the refrigerator while some is going, but you can time it. These ferment tools for pickling are really helpful. Gas forms as you are fermenting, and this captures it and lets it out. Same thing with this. It has like a baby nipple where there's a little hole that allows the gas to escape and does not allow any bad bacteria or any other microbes to enter the jar. So it's really a wonderful system. You can find those online. Um, but the health benefits, a meta-analysis is from greenmedinfo.com, and I'll link to that in the description below in the YouTube channel. So this is a meta-analysis about yogurt and cardiovascular disease. So there were 385,122 participants. This is no small study. 1,392 were diagnosed with myocardial infarction, 4,490 coronary heart disease, congestive heart disease, or coronary, 7,078 were stroke, and 51,707 had uncategorized cardiovascular disease cases. And overall, statistically, evidence of significantly decreased cardiovascular disease risk was found to be associated with fermented dairy intake. Now, this can be kefir as well, which is another drink that is fermented, that is quite tasty, and you can flavor it. There are wonderful ways to flavor the fermented foods. So whatever food or drink you decide on, I really hope that you incorporate fermented foods in your diet. Some side dishes are, a little bit of sauerkraut, pickled beets, yogurt. There's just a wonderful variety of this kombucha, I think, in a little dish. So if you are concerned that you maybe you don't have the time, then I encourage you to take a probiotic product. I will link to a supplement that I think is top quality in the description below. But you need to be taking some kind of probiotic-rich food during the day to be healthy and to support better brain health and immune health. I hope that you share these videos, that this has been informative and hopefully a little entertaining for you. Don't fear disease, build health through knowledge, and share that health knowledge with others. We've been exposed to so much fear mongering in the last 6 to 8 months that it's really taking a toll on the health of Americans. And I want to see everybody sharing the benefits of fermented food. Share a starter, share a kombucha SCOBY, whatever you want to share, and then keep focusing on gratitude. Don't forget to email me if you have some personal issues, drmary@boardforhealth.com, and enjoy all of the nature, the beauty of autumn, the gorgeous mums and dahlias that are out this time of the year, roses. Thank you for viewing. Until next time, this is Dr. Mary for the Health of It, and I will see you next week.